Welcome everyone to the Florida Tennis Podcast. This is a special night. Hall of Famer, one of the greats of all time tennis players, Stan Smith and chairman of Stan Smith Events, and Gary Niebur, a former tennis pro and the president of Stan Smith Events, are going to join us. And the focus of this show is going to be on this incredible book that they've just come out with, Winning Trust. And of course, it's subtitled How to Create Moments That Matter. And we're going to talk about this book. But first, I just want to say, guys, how you doing? Stan, how you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing fine. Just came off the court with our academy kids. We got about 45 kids that train every day except Sunday. And it's fun to see them on the court and hopefully encourage them in their aspirations of becoming a member of a college tennis team. College tennis is going through, as every college sport is going through all sorts of transitions with portal and NIL, and my son is a coach at Duke, and so I just saw the first and second rounds of the NCAAs actually. But
that's Ramsey, right? Ramsey Smith.
Ramsey, yeah, Ramsey's
awesome.
The coach of the men's coach of the Duke team, and our kids want to become members of a college team and have that experience. And so if they're really good, they might move on to the next phase. But, the parents think they can, but some of the kids, also feel they can. But it's a tough transition from junior to college and then college to pro.
Well, great to have you, Stan. And Gary, how are you doing tonight? How's your day been going? What's happening?
Doing great, Adam. Thanks for having us. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you too. Well, fittingly, May is National Tennis Month, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate it than with Stan Smith and Gary Niebur and talking about this book, Winning Trust: How to Create Moments That Matter. Sorry for the Post-it notes, but I've been going through it and enjoying it.
Good.
Three thoughts, guys, as I read this book. Number one was, I love the book. Number two, it was inspiring to me both personally and professionally, which I thought was interesting. You could apply it both ways. And I also thought, hey, I hope I attend one of these Stan Smith events before I die. I wouldn't mind playing tennis with John McEnroe at Wimbledon, golf with Davis Loves III, chilling and dining with Agassi, Pat Rafter, Tracy Austin. Guys, where do I sign and how do you make these events happen?
Well, we'll have to send you
an invite, huh?
An enrollment form. No, it doesn't work exactly like that. We really work with corporations, and they invite their guests, and we try to help them build their relationships and hopefully develop more trust. That's the bottom line.
Right, and I was just going to bring up, guys, one of the key principles of the book is to develop and nurture important relationships and begin by developing trust by creating moments that matter, and that's kind of the concept. So I will start with what I thought was my favorite testimonial from the entire book. This very happy client wrote, frankly, going into Stan's closet will always be my favorite memory from the events we've done together. It was so personal and special. That weekend we had incredible content. Venus Williams was with us. The resort was phenomenal. It was first class all the way. But years later, I talked about that weekend with my company and our guests. The thing we talk about most is being invited to eat dinner with Stan and Margie, your lovely wife, at their family home. Then the pinnacle, Stan asked us if we wanted to see his shoe collection. So we all squeezed into his closet. I have a photograph with my boss there. Stan's shoe collection all around us. And it's just one of those things that your brain can't quite compute. You can't believe you get access to such an intimate space. The vulnerability of that made a huge impression on all of us. And I will show the picture of Stan in his closet. Let me get this. This is page 62.
A closet case.
This is Stan in his closet, which is, I hope it's coming through to an extent out there.
That came from a documentary that I did a couple of years ago, and they let us use that photograph for the book. But
please, Stan.
That was a fun night. One of the things we try to do is to do something unique or special, for the guests, and whether it's access or it's to certain areas, so let's say at Wimbledon, US Open, or with athletes, or signatures or photographs, or something that you can't really buy.
Sure.
And we do that. We try to do that at almost every event to make it it's something that will be a moment that matters in the lives of their guests and the companies we're dealing with.
Well, Gary, that moment made me think about the Maya Angelou quote, which concludes, "People will never forget how you made them feel." Is that moment for that client, that lasting impression, at least in part, what the book is about creating and what Stan Smith Events is about? That feeling, that moment you've given them that builds that trust that they just never forget?
Yeah, we really started the business 30 years ago with the goal to help leaders cultivate relationships with their most important clients. And so the whole purpose was around that, and to create the environment. And in creating that environment, we found that when these people would come to events, whether it was Wimbledon or whether it was a FIFA World Cup or Olympics, or whether it was a destination event, we've done stuff at Pebble Beach and Sea Island and places, we found their guard comes down and they open up and become a little more vulnerable. Because leaders, that you want a safe space where you can get to know each other and engage. And so we found that they weren't just building the relationship, but because of the way they felt, that trust was being formed and established. And it was actually being accelerated through these environments, because you're only together for maybe a day, sometimes 2 or 3 days. And you don't have a lot of time together, but if you create the right environment, we found that it really helped our clients with trust. And so we did the book really to help celebrate the clients that we've had, the experiences, the moments that have mattered over the years. So as you saw in there, you've read some of them. We had leaders interviewed. We had athletes. We've done stuff with movie stars, where we've done at Napa, where we've gone to some really unique vineyards and restaurants. So it's really just been about creating the right environment so that people will feel right. And then we codified the principle and we put it into a tennis term called serve. And it spells out, I can go through it really briefly if you want.
I was going to get to that, but please go ahead. Jump in.
Yeah, well, the idea is, the S is for strategize, that you come up with a strategy that's going to be a hook for somebody to want to come into that environment. And so our team gets together and strategizes over how, what to do and what's going to be special. And then we take it to the client, and then we further customize it to fit their need. And that's the S. And then the E in serve is for engage, which is really what you're talking about, how you make people feel. And when you engage with the whole person and you lead with the relationship, and then transaction follows. Face it, business, even in tennis, when a pro, they want to sell their lessons, they want to draw business to tennis. But when someone feels like they're a transaction, they're not going to trust you very much. So if you value the relationship first, and then the transaction usually follows. And the R is for recreate, which is that's easy for you to think about with tennis, but we do all kinds of activities, from cornhole to table tennis to putting challenges to tennis challenges. We do these unique things on the court that some people have never experienced. And we found that when you put people together, they build a bond through a fun and shared experience. And then the V is for volley, which is another tennis term, which is something we learned, that you can play tennis without a racket by volleying ideas back and forth in order to find the right solutions. And people that are really good at problem solving do this well, and that's a key to winning trust. And then the last one is elevate, and that's about 2 parts. One is in elevate, you need to take care of the details to win people's trust. You can't have somebody show up late or a bus be late, or the ticket not be the right, just all kinds of things can happen, but you need to go ahead and get the details taken care of. And then the second part of elevate is going the extra mile and really doing things that are above and beyond their expectations. And that's something Stan mentioned, where we get them behind the scenes. We might do something with the shoes where we have an artist come in and put a design on Stan's shoe that maybe is really unique. He'll sign them. We'll do some things, that are very unique to elevate different experiences. And so that's serve, and that's kind of the key component of what the book's about. If you apply serve, you're going to win trust. You're going to accelerate trust in your personal and your professional relationships.
Well, Stan, the reason the book resonated with me in particular is the trust aspect. My day job is as a mediator with my legal background. I have to immediately establish trust with the attorney for the plaintiff, the attorney for the defendant, and also the injured worker. It's personal injury type stuff. So it really resonated with me, because if you don't establish that rapport in the beginning, you can lose everything you're saying afterwards. They have to like you and trust you and understand your role in order to make it work. So Stan, that's kind of how I kind of processed it.
Well, the first impression, Gary was on a roll there.
Yes.
Through most of it, but the first impression really is very important. When the people get to a venue, get to an event, you really want to start off well and hopefully get them in a comfortable situation that most of them will be anticipating where we're doing the event. If it's at Wimbledon or the U.S. Open or the Olympics, they're excited about going to that event, and that's the hook that's got them to
Sure.
accept the invitation from the client. And so it's important that we start off well, and Gary said the details are important. If they're not picked up at the airport, or their room isn't ready, or that sort of thing, then it can ruin all the plans that you've made. So just like in your situation, you want to get a rapport with both those sides of the argument, and hopefully develop a little bit of trust in that you're going to handle them fairly. And I guess in any kind of a case, you got to have a fair situation, and if there's a jury, they've got to understand it as well. But anyway, it's important to start off well in these events.
I love that you mentioned the details, because I noticed in the book you get down to some pretty intense details, like what type of water someone may want to drink. Like that can actually make a difference when they get to the room. It's subtle, but it's quite a detail. I mean, you are very detail oriented, which is huge, right? People love
Well,
that.
we had one client that his wife didn't like plaid draperies. And so we had to get to the hotel, and the room that they're going to be assigned to, they couldn't have plaid draperies, or they couldn't have a certain water there. They couldn't drink anything besides a certain water. So,
Sure.
one of the things we've done, and we found out that's very important, is that you get to know people before they come. You get to know where they're from, they have a family, if they have an interest in tennis or whatever sport that we're attending at that time, just to do a little bit of homework. And we learned that from Mark McCormick, wrote a book, and also Donald Dell, two great agents,
Sure.
about preparation of getting to be ready for a relationship that might come up. And so we spend some time on that. We're trying to do that more now in these events, so that we can understand where they're coming from and not asking some question that's not appropriate.
It's interesting, guys. I hope you'll indulge me for just a minute, because I haven't done enough background on you guys, and you got to indulge me on the Florida Tennis Podcast. So Gary, former tennis professional, you oversee creations of the events in exceptional venues at Stan Smith Events. You cultivate partnerships with top hospitality and entertainment professionals. You also serve on the board of La Casa de
Mi Padre,
which shows my ability to use language, which is a home for at-risk youth in El Salvador. You and your wife, Teresa, have 3 grown daughters. Do you have anything you'd like to add or elaborate upon in terms of your background, is that accurate, or anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, actually, we just had our first granddaughter on Good Friday. So that's new since the book came out.
Congratulations.
And, I think our family is both of us. I mean, Stan can elaborate on his. I'm never going to catch his 17 grandchildren. I mean, I hope we just get a few. We can have, if I could have half that many, I think I'd be happy. But
sure,
we've got our families, and I think the book's dedicated at the front to our wives, Margie and Teresa. And
sure.
Early on in the business, if I could elaborate on our background, I think
Sure, please.
We share some common things like faith, and our family is really important. And so we set some boundaries around how many events we were going to do, around trying to find, there's no perfect balance. I think you got to figure out what's best in each situation, in each family and marriage. But we had a guy that was on the Olympic committee that we hired that actually was a mentor of mine, and he ended up working with us, and he really encouraged us to set boundaries around how long we were going to be gone from our families that would be healthy. And sometimes when we're gone too long, bringing our family on the road and different things like that. And so that tells a little bit more. I think the book is on horizontal trust, which is trust, between humans. And I think, we have a faith, which is a vertical trust that really has helped us understand. Trust is a big word, and it's a precious commodity, we've realized. And it's at risk right now in our situation culturally and in the world. And so I think we've had it tested, and
Sure.
in all ways. But that's a little bit of the background. I mean, we met many years ago, and we had an aha moment that really started the business. And but I think we share a lot of similar values, and that's really helped in our partnership. And then we've had different things that we've done charity-wise. And for me, this orphanage was a lifelong dream. When I was a kid, started saving rolled coins and then set up a little foundation. And I didn't do the whole thing. We partnered with other people, but the company, Stan Smith Events, built a soccer field at this farm in El Salvador where these kids are. And then there's homes that have been built there. Mark Anthony, the singer, built a home there for the kids. There's been a really neat, it's been incredible. The First Lady of El Salvador has really gotten behind it now, and it's been a model for the country, this children's home. And so it's been neat to see, but it was a childhood dream to get involved in something like that. So thanks for asking.
No, of course, I wanted to go through a little bit more background. And Stan, I know is a humble man, but it's going to go a little bit more into your background, Stan. Former world #1 ranked professional tennis player, U.S. Open and Wimbledon champion, part of one of the most successful doubles teams in history with Bob Lutz, inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in 1987, part of 7 winning Davis Cup teams, chairman of Stan Smith Events. Your worldwide fame obviously extends to the Adidas Stan Smith shoe, which has sold over just 100 million pairs, probably just yesterday. You served as the president of the International Tennis Hall of Fame from 2011 to 2021. You're an active board member for the Boys and Girls Club of Hilton Head and the Heritage Classic Foundation. You and your wife Margie have 4 grown children, 17 grandchildren. Spoiler alert, Gary, you gave that away. Your son Ramsey Smith is coach of Duke, we talked about, and he secured his 300th win March 7th over Duke. Over Notre Dame. Do I have this right, Stan, or is there anything else you want to elaborate?
Yeah, my mother would love that introduction. Gee, that was pretty thorough. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And now it's going to get a little bit, just indulge me one more minute. Many people who watch the podcast know that I'm a tennis memorabilia collector, so I'm just very quickly going to run through some of my Stan Smith stuff. Just bear with me, then we'll get right back to the book. I got to start with my Stan Smith signed racket, which the person who got this for me is a friend of mine, told me, "You used this racket at Wimbledon. I choose to believe that. Do not ruin my dream, Stan." We're going to go with that. All right?
That's great.
This is my...
I used that in the 5th set in the finals of Wimbledon when I
Thank you. All right. I'll take that to the bank. This is my signed Westside Tennis Club Forest Hills Heritage Day program from 2021, which celebrated your 1971 U.S. Open victory. I love this because it's also signed by your wife, Margie, your son, Ramsey. And for our viewers and listeners, the U.S. Open was played at the Westside Tennis Club until 1977. But one of my favorite Stan Smith pieces of memorabilia is this magazine. Why? Because Stan inscribed it, okay? U.S. Open 1971, Wimbledon 1972, #1 U.S. 4 times, #1 in the world 2 times. So that is pretty special. Thank you. My Stan Smith books, Stan Smith winning doubles. I have modern doubles with Bob Lutz. This book, which I don't have handy, but I love this book. This is the coffee table book. Some people think I'm a shoe. I don't have the book handy, but I wanted to bring that out.
You could lift that a few times and a little stronger. It's 5 pounds.
I love that book, no question. Then, of course, I do have a Stan Smith signed shoe. It is not handy, but this is what it would look like.
Okay.
All right. Hopefully, I will be adding sometime in the future a match used to go.
I would hope so.
With my racket, I hope so. Now, you got to have your Stan Smith trading cards. This is your signed the Goodwin Champions card. And what I love about this card, this is the signed Hall of Fame card, is it actually says something pretty interesting. It says Stan won 7 Davis Cup finals with the United States team and earned the clinching point 5 times, a record exclamation point. His most heroic effort came in 1972 in Bucharest, Romania. With suspect calls abound, that's what it says. Smith placed his shots farther away from the lines and he still got the job done over Ian Tiriac. 4-6, 6-2, 6-4, 2-6, 6-0 for the title. Stan, what do you remember about that match and what did you learn about yourself from that win?
Well, I realized that Tiriac had a lot of his family there. They were on the lines making the calls. So I got introduced to all those guys as they were making their calls and ignoring me. But it was probably the ultimate test of our team. We've been fortunate to be on so many great teams, and that was the year we played every match outside the United States. We played in Mexico, and then we played in Chile, and we played in Spain, all in red clay courts, which was the ultimate challenge, for me particularly, and the guys on the team as well. So it's a thrill to play Davis Cup, to represent the United States, and just in general traveling. And Gary and I have traveled a lot over the years. Is the more you travel in these different countries, the more you appreciate the U.S. and the opportunities we have and the freedom we have. And I was in the Army for a couple of years, and that also made me feel better about the opportunities we have and to supporting what we've done. So actually a lot of our events, majority probably are outside the United States. When you look at Australia and Wimbledon, the French and the Olympics and the Rugby World Cup. I mean, all these events have been outside the U.S. And so we've had the opportunity to travel, and I've had the opportunity to represent the United States in many different ways. And so that's been probably the highlight of my tennis career.
Well, thank you, Stan, and thank you, Gary, for indulging me. Let's get back to this great book by Stan Smith and Gary. I like, by the way, I love the fact that it has kind of a nice lace here that has like a bookmark. I'll be honest with you, my cat actually loves this book. So if you have a cat owner and you want to read this book, it's an extra added bonus there. Okay.
We've heard some reasons for buying the book, but that's one we've not heard.
I've not heard that one. Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. My cat loves that.
I want to compliment you too on the goal is really for you to apply serve in your professional and personal life. And so just hearing how you've already started to resonate and think through, how does this apply to my legal practice? That's our hope, is that people would take it. And that's been part of the fun for us, as we've spoken at a couple of done some conference things and stuff. But it's been to really see how people want to apply it and can apply it. And that's the encouragement we wanted with Serve, was how can you apply it both, in your family and in your professional life.
No, I think it's important because the impression, it's not just for Fortune 100 companies to use, but it's applicable. It's like a self-help book. It's applicable to your daily life, to your professional life, and your personal life if you read it carefully and kind of think about it. So with that being said, Gary, I'll direct this to you. You've worked with Fortune 100 companies, international nonprofits, professional athletes, Michelin-starred chefs, influential leaders around the world. So what I'm trying to, and in creating these amazing events, what I'm wondering is, how do you engage and impress people who've kind of seen it and done it all? I mean, you're dealing with some of the top people out there. How do you do that? How do you continue to bring it to people who kind of maybe a little blasé and think they've seen it all?
Yeah. That's a challenge. That's a great question, by the way, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge that really comes under that strategy involving is you figure out what's something that people can't get typically on their own, where it's going to be, and you really do have to. And sometimes you have the same group year after year, or the same company, because we have a lot of repeat business, and so you're having to come up with new ideas. And so whether it's autographed memorabilia, a signed racket from Stan or Federer or Nadal or some of the other players as a prediction prize for the winner of the match, because we do predictions where people predict the player, the time, and the score of the match, and we give the winner the closest one. Or whether it's stuff from the Ryder Cup that's autographed, or just different things. You've got autographed memorabilia. You've got some venues out there that just are not public, and they're very private, and you can't pay to get in them. And so having dinner at Davis Love's home is pretty unique, where we do some fun activities around that, and then you get them on some unique golf courses or different places. And so that's the challenge, is to figure out what do you get for somebody who has everything. So part of it is finding the venue. The other is what you do with the space when you find it. And so I think what impresses some of these people that have everything is who they are with, the content of the speakers or the content of the conversation, and then the way they engage. So part of it is getting the access, and then the other part is what you do with the time when you're in that space.
And I think food plays a part in that too. You're getting together with some big time chefs, and you're bringing people to restaurants that frankly you just can't get a reservation to. I think it was at the Gramercy.
Yeah, the kitchen. So tell them about the kitchen stand.
You can't get in there. So
they have a private room there. We've used several times, in Union Square Cafe as well. But one of the things we'll do is we'll have them go into the kitchen, and we have the chef there, Michael Anthony at the Gramercy Tavern, and he'll explain what goes on in the kitchen. And of course, the people have these great meals, but to do that, in some cases, it's more impressive than the food they get. So that is a special, kind of a touch that we would surprise them with, and that's something they do have, memories of. We've had some great caterers do things like at my house or other homes. At the Olympics, we use private homes instead of restaurants and hotels, which all these CEOs, executives go to all the time when they travel around the world. Well, we got to use private homes, and Gary actually had some clients in Atlanta that had these big homes with tennis courts on them, and so we would take 60 people during the Olympics and go to a home, and then go to the event. We'll bring Carl Lewis or John Niebur or one of the Nadia Comaneci to come and preview the event they're about to go to, and in some cases they'll even go to the event with the guest in there, and that makes it pretty special.
No, I did see the Nadia Comaneci Bart Connors kind of little intimate event, and that certainly doesn't happen every day. We're going to go over there and watch these gold medalists do some gymnastics. I'm just curious, Stan, let me start with you. What did you learn in the process of writing this book? Anything surprise you as you kind of put pen to paper?
Well, we learned the process. I've done several books, as you brought out, but this one here was a little different in that we had a working title called Third, and it was an acronym, and we had words that went along with it. But the idea of the third was if you have a company and their clients, if you meet at the company's office, it's one thing. If you meet at the client's office, it's one thing. But if you go to a third venue, a neutral venue, and particularly if it's it's an attractive venue for people to go to that want to see an event or something like that, then everybody sort of kind of levels out the playing field, and it gives the guest and the company executives a common ground where they can share with each other and share more things than they just be in a transactional situation, being in one of their offices. And so that was our initial thought with this book. And then we had a writer that helped us, and then we got a great writer to help finish it off and to interview some of our clients so that she'd get a feel for the effect of those events on them and their guest, and then put it all together. One of the other chapters is second serve, and again, another tennis term, but if you do develop a trust with one another through an event or through these occasions, then something goes wrong in that business relationship, they're more apt to work out those situations and get together on the phone or in person, and knowing that they understand those people, each other better, and therefore they could solve the problem they might be having in a negotiation or something like that.
And Gary, have you enjoyed the book signings and the interviews that you've done to promote the book?
Yeah, that's good point. We really have. We've gotten into some pretty deep conversations.
Okay.
And I've really enjoyed doing it with Stan, to be honest. It's been fun to go back and forth and get asked some pretty good questions and to go deep on the principles. And so I really have. It was a very special moment in Atlanta, which is where I live currently. Mm-hmm. We had several people that were in the book, several leaders of Fortune 100 companies, and then different clients. We had something at Sid and Mashburn's where we did a book signing, and then this Ford Fry, who's a well-known chef in Atlanta. We did something at one of his restaurants, and it was very special. The environment, the people that were there, and felt a little bit like a wedding or a 50th birthday party or something, because it was a special time. It was fun to watch people interact, and it was a great turnout. So yeah, it's been really nice so far. We've got some great feedback on the book, and we appreciate your interest and you taking the time to read it and explore it with us.
Well, I will tell you, I feel like we've developed enough trust here for me to get a little transactional now. How do people buy this book? How do they get this book? I want to buy another copy. How do I get another copy of this beautiful book?
You can get it on Amazon. Okay. But if you want to buy many copies, then you could reach out to us at stansmithevents.com, and we could work something out with that. We have several copies here, and then Amazon sells it though if you're just interested in one copy.
Awesome. And how do people reach Stan Smith Events?
Yeah, our website is stansmithevents.com, and you can get a feel for kind of what we do and how we do it and the types of things that we offer. And we have a great team. I mean, that's in the book as well, but it's an amazing team here at the company that really does all the details and work and sets up these environments. So we can't take really all the credit. We really got a phenomenal team behind us. Well,
we're nearing the end, so I'm going to hit you with some, rapid fire questions here, guys. All right. Future plans. Are Stan Smith Events going to be possibly going to Roland Garros?
Absolutely. We'll be at Roland Garros, Wimbledon, US Open.
Wow. All right. So let me hit you with, I'm lucky enough to get that invite. I get hooked. Do you hook me up? I get hooked and they get hooked up. I go to Roland Garros this year. Is it top secret, or can you tell me? Am I hanging with Rafa right before they introduce him? What is happening?
Well, we did introduce somebody to him on a rain delay.
Wow.
Took him in, and one of the guys in the book tells that story. But
sure.
But now there's no more rain delays because they have a roof. So
sure.
You might not meet him. Yeah, but you might meet some other players. We do some things on some of the courts around there where we'll engage.
Well, now we're getting a little bit personal, and we're going to start with Gary, okay? If Stan Smith Events was planning an event for Gary Niebur, what is on the bucket list that must be included in that event?
Wow. That's a good one. One of my favorite ones would probably be the Australian Open, because of where you stay. You can walk along the river. I'd love to take a group of married couples and be part of it, and do the Australian Open, and probably go to the Great Barrier Reef, do some things outside of it, watch the penguins come in from the ocean and bring food to their families, and
awesome.
Do some things, but have some engaging conversation with all the couples, and so they could build trust with one another and grow in their relationships would be probably something I'd love to do.
Stan Smith, same question for you. Stan Smith Events is secretly planning, a great event for you. What has to be included to make it, a real special event for you, Stan Smith? Besides the 17 grandchildren, I don't know if we can get them all.
My family.
I knew it. Okay.
We've actually had several staycations here at Hilton Head.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad spot to be, and the kids grew up here, so we try to plan things. And fortunately, all my kids are kind of creative as far as doing things, and we've done our little family events, here and a couple other places as well. So. That's been great. Just even eliminating the 17 grandchildren, just having our 4 kids and their spouses, and my wife and I, we've done that a few times as well. So that would be my ideal event.
So Gary, keep that in mind. You're going to need a big space when you're planning for Stan.
We did an event for our kids at the U.S. Open where all Stan's his 4 kids and their spouses and 2 of our 3 daughters and their husbands came, and we actually did an event to build a relationship within our families, and that was
nice.
Special last year. So,
well, in closing, I have a suggestion for a great speaker. It would be our cover story, Madison Keys. I think she would be great for you because she's inspirational. Probably the tennis story of 2025, the perseverance. She also has an organization, it's a Be Kind organization. So, guys, as you're thinking down the road, Madison Keys.
She's done it.
I followed her. For years, and it was very, very special to be there and to see her win that. Not only that final, but the semifinal and the quarterfinal. She beat some of the top players in the world, and she plays a high risk. You never want to coach her because. You'd say, don't do that, and you don't try that shot, and then she'll hit it. In this case, she hit it in most of the times, and you say, great shot. But it was a great thrill to see that at her age, and all the years she's been there trying for it, and some very bad disappointments she's had, like at the U.S. Open final. So it was great to see her.
Yeah, and Lindsay Davenport, when Lindsay was coaching her, Lindsay and Madison came and did something with us at the Australian Open one year. So she's great. We'd love to have her again. If you can organize that, we might let you come along.
Oh, well, okay. It's on record now. This is being recorded. No, Gary and Stan, this really is one of my all-time favorite shows. You guys are awesome. I love my signed and inscribed copy, I must say, of Winning Trust, How to Create Moments That Matter. It is now part of my Stan Smith collection and Gary Niebur collection that I'm building up, Gary. On behalf of Florida Tennis, the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, guys, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on this wonderful book. Continued success to Stan Smith Events. I hope you will join us again in the future. And I hope at some point in my life, I'm lucky enough to attend one of these events. I'm hitting tennis balls, this is in my mind, with John McEnroe, Stan Smith, Gary Niebur. At Wimbledon, Johnny Mac is actually, crushing a few shots at me in his inimitable way, hitting some volleys. Stan's coaching me up. This is what's happening in my mind here, guys. So if you're planning for me, that would be it. Stan, thank you. Gary, thank you, guys. You guys.
Thanks, Adam.
You got it. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, guys.